Oh, look.
Ian, you look great.
Do I?
Hello, Ian.
I look pretty. Hi, Beth.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Welcome to the podcast. This is your first podcast.
This is my first podcast.
How do you feel?
I'm pretty nervous. Yeah, I mean,
nervous?
I'm not too bad. Maybe I should feel more nervous than I actually do feel, but
Nah, I think
Feel
you'll be
alright.
right. I think you're pretty good at chatting. So I
can talk sometimes.
I think we could. Yeah, I think we could. We have a lot to talk about. So I think this is going to be a really good conversation. Now, first thing I ask my guests on the podcast is something that I do at the start of the year, even though obviously we're in April. Can you believe it that we're in April?
I know, it flies by.
It's insane. But something that I like to do is aspire by a word of the year. And that's something that I always kind of come back to when I'm making decisions or thinking about things and whatnot. I always come back to a word of the year. So I like to ask my guests what their word would be to sum up kind of what they're trying to focus on this year. So my word this year, just so you kind of know what the vibe is evolve. So I'm trying to evolve in all aspects of my life.
I like that.
So what would be your word?
Does it have to be a single word or can it be
Single
like a
word.
short sentence?
No sentence, Ian. Just a word.
That's tough. I really want to steal your word, evolve or commit.
Commit.
There you go.
Okay.
That'll
Yep.
be my word for the
Yep.
year, commit.
And I think that we're probably going to get into why that is your word with some stuff that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
So let's start off with having a bit of a background about you. Tell us a bit about you, what you do, who you are. Tell us a little bit more about Ian.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've pretty much been in fitness all my life since I was 18.
Yep.
I did the standards, did my PT qualifications,
Yep.
Cert 3, Cert 4 it is over here. Obviously, I'm from the UK.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
He's
did
from
the
the UK,
equivalent
guys,
over
if
there.
you can't
Yeah, I'm British.
hear his
Yeah.
accent.
But I got a bit of a mixed accent, I guess, because I've been over here for a while now. But yeah, so I did my Cert 3, Cert 4.
Yep.
And I did sports massage as well.
Did you?
I did.
I just made you give me a trap massage.
Yeah, I actually know what I'm doing.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, so I did all that back in the day. That's going back when this is almost 15 years ago now, which
Yep.
is scary to think.
So you did all of that over at the UK?
All in the UK, yeah.
Yep.
So I did the whole thing in a big, full-on course in the space of about 3 months.
Okay.
Just face to
PT
face,
and massage.
sports massage, gym instruction, all that stuff.
Yep.
And then I pretty much went straight into a PT job from there.
Yep.
At a big box gym.
Yep.
Virgin Active.
Over there?
Yeah, over there.
Okay.
Yeah, so
There you go.
started
Working
off
the gym floor.
Working the gym floor as a
starting
gym
in the trench.
instructor. Yeah, started as a coach, then moved into PT.
Yep.
And yeah, pretty much worked my way out, built my client base from there.
Yep.
And then eventually kind of decided to move on with a business partner, set up a kind of a class-based kind of studio. It was a small one, class-based studio with a friend from the gym
Yep.
that I met there.
What was it called?
BoxFit Academy. Yeah.
I swear there's a box fit here in Sydney.
Oh, there's probably everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're probably everywhere.
Well, that's cool. So how did that go?
It was good. Yeah, it was really good. Like it wasn't just boxing. It was kind of boxing style classes, but then we did circuit classes and we both did PT out of it.
Yeah.
And it was really good. Like it was successful. I would say, it made us some good money, like nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pretty young back then as well. So, but yeah, just something else came up. Like I'd always wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to take on a teaching role
within PT.
Within
Yeah.
PT, so to kind of teach the Cert 3, Cert 4,
Yep.
some more nutrition-based classes. So yeah, so that opportunity came up. I decided
Yep.
to go into that. I was still trying to run the business at the same time, but I
Yep.
just couldn't. It was so hard to do both at the same time. I was running, like doing the teaching during the day, and then coming and doing classes in
At
the evening
nighttime,
afterwards.
and it's a lot.
And it's a lot.
And with people in both, like obviously when you're teaching,
Yeah.
it's very, obviously communication, all that type of stuff. And then you got to it's a lot of people in one day.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it is. It's hard. And so, yeah, I mean, I had a conversation with my business partner at the time, and we just decided that it was easier for him just to take the whole thing for himself.
Okay.
Which he still runs to this day.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he still
you have
runs
to
it
show
to
me
this
it's on
day.
Instagram.
Yeah, there's an Instagram. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's still a small business, but
Yeah.
he still runs it to this day. He still makes some good money.
Yeah. You know what? That's what it's all about when it comes to business. Like I think business is super and success is super individual. And if you can create a business that's going to, give you enough money to have a great life, great lifestyle and enjoy what you're doing, then that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
So
Yeah, if you
I don't
enjoy
believe
it.
in like big or little businesses. I just think business is individual.
100%.
So good on him.
100%. Yeah, so, went into teaching for a little bit.
All over at the UK still, right?
In the UK. This is still in the UK, yeah.
Yep.
This is probably going back when I'm like 25, I would say, 25, 26. So I probably taught for probably 2-3 years.
Yep.
And then I made the decision that I still loved the job.
Yep.
But I just knew like I needed something more. Like I just didn't want to stay in that role anymore. So I kind of thought, okay, I'm just going to travel.
Yep.
You know, and made the decision to fly over to Australia.
Yep. So you came straight here.
Yep. Travelled around Australia for a bit.
How'd you travel? Like,
I did the real kind of like posh travel. Like I was Airbnb-ing everywhere.
Oh, okay,
I didn't
cool.
do hostels.
Because I was just like, I cannot imagine Ian in like a van.
I'm too bougie. Yeah, no, I'm way too bougie.
I couldn't do it either. Like my sister just travelled 6 months around Australia in a van.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what? I
couldn't do it.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind doing. I would actually love to do the whole drive around Australia one day.
Yeah, but stay in nice places.
Maybe like a little bit in the van.
Yeah.
But it's got to be a bougie van.
It's got to be
van,
bougie.
And then every now and then stay in an Airbnb somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a nice hotel somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, so you did a bougie.
Yeah, so I did the bougie travelling. There was no hostels.
Yeah.
There wasn't a single hostel at any time. It was all Airbnbs everywhere.
Yeah.
And I would just follow the weather.
Yeah.
So I would just be like, oh look, it's sunny in the Sunshine Coast. I'm going to go there. Oh, it's sunny in
So you
Adelaide.
did that all
I'm going to go
solo
there.
as well.
Yeah, that was all solo. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That was all solo. So. Yeah, and it's good. Like, I kind of like traveling that way because you do whatever you want. You go wherever you want.
I would be the same.
No one's controlling it, so you're not having to go somewhere because someone else wants to go there.
Yeah, and also, like, I think as well, because you've come to Australia to kind of take the next step as well, like with life and also your business, like being alone and like, you know, traveling and whatnot, being in a different environment, I think would be so refreshing to just kind of tune in with yourself with what's the next direction. Did you find that was the case?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I just needed some time to kind of know what I wanted to do and where I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I knew, like, for whatever reason, the UK doesn't feel like home for me.
Yeah.
Australia feels more like home for me, partly because my grandparents used to live here when I was a kid, so I used to come back and forth to Australia a lot when I was young.
Do you have like citizenship here?
I don't know. Yeah, I need to marry someone to get myself that one. Yeah, I need
Apparently
that.
it's really hard.
It is hard.
People.
It's a nightmare. So if you know anyone, you let me know.
What's that?
If you know anyone, let me know.
If you know anyone,
yeah.
okay, guys, listen to that.
Yeah.
We'll leave these details
I need my
below.
residency. Yeah.
All right. So what did you come from that? So you thought you're traveling around. Like, what was the next step?
So I knew.
Oops,
so
sorry,
I knew
guys,
I wanted
dropping my
to. I knew I wanted to move to Australia.
Yep.
So I had to go back first because I was on a tourist
so you just
visa.
came here and you thought, I'll just travel and have a good time and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do.
Exactly, yeah. Because I was on a tourist visa. So because you guys have got tourist visas, working visas, you have different visas.
Okay, yeah.
So I was on a tourist visa. So as soon as I finished my travel, I flew back. I went back into a teaching role.
Yeah.
Like just on more like a part-time basis.
Yep.
Just to kind of sort myself out back home because I have some property back home. I had to get everything ready to kind of rent out and get that sorted, just make sure everything was dealt with, sell my car because I still had a car over there. So you
just went all in, but you know what, screw it, I'm doing it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And how old were you at that stage?
I would say I must have been 27, 28
okay.
at the time probably.
How old are you now?
33.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still young.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah,
I think like 30s, in the 30s is young.
I'm going to say that too. I agree. Yeah.
I used to be scared. I'll turn 30 next year.
33 starts to feel old.
What's that?
33 starts, the closer you get to 35, it starts to feel...
I just don't think so. I feel like the timelines in life has changed a lot now. I feel like maybe even 5 years ago, 30 would seem older, but I feel like because times are changing, you know, timelines are changing. Like, I don't believe in timelines. I think everyone should have their own individual timeline, but I feel like it's more acceptable to have your own timeline nowadays, whereas maybe even 5 years ago, I would say people are like, oh, you're not successful if you haven't been married and with kids at the age of 30.
Yeah, it's very different now for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So then you like, packing my bags up. I'm moving to Australia.
Pack my
on
bags
your own,
up,
right?
On my own.
Did you know anyone here?
Yeah. So I had some friends over here. So that's kind of why I came to Sydney because I knew people in Sydney. So I came back to Sydney eventually after about I would say maybe 6 months to a year of going back home.
Yep.
Packed everything up, moved back here, moved over here.
Yep.
Did the whole, because I was on a working visa, so I did the whole working visa here for a bit.
Yep.
And then eventually my working visa was up.
Yep.
And I had to go back. So I did go back at the time. I actually ended up going back real briefly, then flying to Thailand, then going to Bali, hanging around in Bali for about a year.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've got to chat to you
so
because I'm going to Bali for a month.
Yeah,
I need
love
to
it.
just,
love the place. One day probably would definitely love to go back.
Okay.
Or somewhere like with that kind of vibe for sure. But yeah, so I kind of just chilled out in Bali for a year. You know, I was still kind of doing some online coaching at the time.
Yeah.
So I still had some income through that. I had some income through my properties that I rent out back home. So, it just allowed me to have a bit more of a
flexibility to kind of
in my
figure out
life.
what the next step was.
To kind of figure out what the next step was. I knew I still wanted to go back to Australia.
Yeah.
And then had the opportunity to come over here, back to Sydney, and start a business with some friends, like a class-based business called the Glute Station.
Yeah.
Similar kind of vibe as to what you've got going on.
Yeah.
Very
glutes.
very glute focused.
Ian trains glutes, by the way, for those who don't know.
I do train glutes.
We're going to train glutes after we do this podcast.
100%, yeah.
Yep, so that was the next stage.
So that was the next
opening
stage.
Up that gym.
Came over here, kind of helped set that up.
Yeah.
And then I moved on from that.
Yeah.
Went kind of into a club manager role.
Yep.
Again, another big box gym sort of thing.
Yep.
And I've been doing that for probably a year.
Yep.
Now I'm here.
You're here, and you've just left that role.
Just left that role yesterday.
Yep. Yep. And now you're into the next stage.
I am. Yes.
Now, something that I've been talking about a lot is the fear of failure. And I just think like so many people don't go for what they want in life because of this whole fear of failure. And I think a lot of that comes from judgment, wondering what people are going to think of them. You know, obviously the fear of failing something and whatnot. Obviously you have done a lot in your time and in your career, and you've made a lot of big moves, really. Obviously with that, you would have had a big fear of failure along the way, right?
100%, yeah.
So was there ever a time where you let the fear of failure stop you from doing something, or do you feel like you were able to obviously bypass that fear of failure? And if so, how did you do that?
I don't think there's ever been a time that I've allowed fear of failure to stop me from doing something.
Yeah.
I would say that there's been times when I've allowed fear of failure to stop me from fully committing to something.
Is that where the word commit comes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So to not kind of go all in and always to have something else in the background.
A safety network.
A safety net, yeah.
So do you think that's
I've
why
always got
you've gone, you know what, this job isn't making me feel good.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull the plug and then just, go all in on the next.
Yeah, because with we say like the club manager role, like it's, it's a pretty easy role. Like it's kind of easy money, easy income. And the idea is like, okay, I'll do that. And then I'll be able to focus on my online coaching as well and start to build that side of things.
Yeah.
But I was just so...
It's hard to focus when
you've
got
everything with the club manager role in the end. It was taking my motivation away and energy away from my business, and I was starting to do things for their business that I wanted to do for my business. Yeah. But they weren't taking it and running with it. They were kind of saying, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea," and putting it on the back burner, and we'll eventually do that. And I was just thinking, like, "Come on, guys, let's go." But
it's hard when you're not obviously the one that's making those decisions. Like, you can only tell them like how much of the ideas that you've had are going to be beneficial for their business, but it's hard when you're not. So do you think that's obviously why you've gone, you know what, I need to just...
Yeah, because I just...
Focus on your energy, because we only have so much energy. Something I'm really big on is like environment, making sure that you're in an environment that you're feeling inspired and you have the energy to invest in things that are going to help you as an individual or business owner, whatever it is, get you to where you need to be. But something that you're kind of experiencing, you would say, with that role is a bit of burnout with your energy.
Yeah.
Because you're investing so much into that job, it hasn't given you enough energy to then invest in other areas. So you've had to like reflect and go, okay, you need to pull back here so you can go forward with obviously where you want to go.
Yeah, 100%.
With your ideas.
Yeah, I just want to be able to fully commit, you know.
So what's the next step?
So now, next step, you know, I do still want to do some online one-to-one coaching, which I do at the moment, but I really want to focus more on setting up something very much similar as to what you're doing as far as with your academy and having some type of subscription-based academy. Because I do love teaching. I would say my passion is teaching. I love teaching people.
And you can bring that element in, like you can have all your educational videos and plus the programs and whatnot. It can be much more than just a program.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is obviously with your ethics and whatnot as a coach, you would say.
Indeed.
Okay, so that's something you're going to be working on.
Yes.
Yeah, and no more working
no
for
more
others.
no other distractions.
So with that as well, like coming back to the fear of failure, did you have any fears of failure with making that move to stop that job, like to
yeah, I mean, it's still in my mind now. Like, you know, but I keep kind of telling myself, like, you know, there was part of me saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't leave, maybe I should just really try and put all my energy into both roles, you know. And so I've always got that safety net, so if one fails, then well, I've still got the other one. But I'd kind of rather, again, just put everything into my passion, my thing. And if it fails, it fails, you know, but...
And I honestly don't believe in failing. Anyone who's listened to my last podcast, it was like full hype girl, 20 minutes of me just going on about it. But I would honestly think that, like, failing is like a perspective, but it's redirection. It's like something that I do with my business is like throw things out there and see what sticks. And then you work out what's going to be like a great way to kind of invest more time and energy into. So, yeah, I think that's a really good perspective, just to go, you know what? You know, failing is not really a thing unless you make it a thing, and you learn from it and you can be redirected and you know.
And because if you don't do it, like in 10 years' time, you're going to be like,
100%.
What if I had done it? Like, what?
100%.
Maybe I should have done this. Maybe I should have done that. Like, and I don't want to look back and be oh, I wonder what would have happened if I'd done this, you know, if I'd done that.
Something that I always say to myself is like, think about when I'm like 90, and I've said this on a few podcasts before, think about when I'm like 90, still going to be fit and fab. But I don't want to be 100%. Looking back and being like, oh, I wish I did that.
Yeah.
Because when you're 90 years old, you're not going to care what people think of you because you're going to die soon. So you're not going to...
Maybe you will, I'm not.
What's that?
Maybe you will. I'm going to keep going.
Anyway, you'll keep going. But, like, I feel like when you're at that age, you don't really care what people think of you. You know, you kind of... And I think when you're looking back, you're not going to be thinking of worrying about what people think of you or worrying about failing an idea. You're going to be looking back going, how cool was that I went for that? Or how cool was that you're not going to be going, oh, I was so upset that I put out this program and no one brought it. Like, you're not going to be thinking about those things. Does that make sense?
Especially if you're coming from a job role that's like kind of doing nothing for you and it's all something for someone else and it's helping someone else's business. Yeah,
exactly.
You know, you're not going to really get anything from that.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, sure, you've always got that safety net, but you're just, it's not going to motivate you.
And then as well, like, it's not going to fuel you to kind of like keep, you know, evolving, my word, evolve, if you're constantly, you know, not feeling inspired or you're not feeling like you're having flowy ideas because you're trapped in an environment you don't want to be in. So speaking of, what would be some advice that you would give? Because you have a lot of experience, not only in the industry, but in business. You've moved countries, you've done a lot for the age of 33, which is young. What would be your advice to maybe somebody who's listening that may be stuck in a job that they don't like, or maybe they have a business idea, maybe they're a PT and they're wanting to go full-time with their business? What would be your advice for them to push past those limiting beliefs to get started into taking action?
I mean, do exactly what I did. Like, you know, you got to look at yourself now at whatever age you are. Let's say you're 25, and so you got to say, like, okay, the role you're in right now, at 35, if you're in the same role, are you going to be happy?
Love that. That's a good question to ask yourself.
And that's kind of what I ask myself all the time. That's when I was a teacher. Like, I loved teaching. I really did love teaching. Like, it was a great job role when I was 25. But I knew there was kind of no, like, opportunity for growth,
grow,
within that
yeah.
role. And I actually had someone opposite me. There was a guy that I was teaching alongside. He'd been in the same business for 20 years, and
Yeah.
he'd actually taught me. And I kind of looked at him, you know, I'm sure he's happy and all that, but I
Yeah.
kind of looked at him and thought,
I don't want
to be this guy.
I don't want that. Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be this. Like, you know, I want to make sure, like, I've achieved and done everything I
and
want.
push yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep
So
pushing
that's what I would
yourself.
say is, like, you know, look at yourself now. Will you
Yep.
be happy doing the exact same
Love
thing
that.
in 10 years? If you are, then that's great. Keep doing
Yeah,
that. If
good
you know
for
you're
you.
going to love doing that and you're happy where you're at,
Yeah.
then that's fine. Keep doing
Yeah.
that. But if you're not, then
You have to make change. You've got to take
yeah.
action, and you've got to take those steps, because like I think it's well, like when it comes to life and business and everything and whatnot, I think that you know, some people do want to have just like a stressless life where they just work for someone, and that's okay as well. When you work with someone, you come home, you do your thing, you have a lifestyle. But if you want to, like, you know, follow your passion and make something of that, then, you know, exactly what Ian said, you've got to take big steps and, you know, big risks really to do that. Something that I like said to myself when I was opening up this gym, because as we know, this wasn't planned, because I'm so like
very
spontaneous.
off the cuff, yeah.
Or just like, it's so random, wasn't it? Something that I questioned myself was, okay, cool, like if this failed or if this didn't go to plan, first of all, like I feel like you have to, if you've got an idea, you've got to have so much trust in yourself. Did you find, like, with all the kind of big moves you've made, you've just gone, I 100% believe that this will work out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You
I know
have to
I know I have the ability.
Yeah.
Like, I know I have the knowledge, I know I
Yeah.
have the background.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, and you've only got to look at, you know, a lot of people around you and be
Yeah.
like, well, look, they've all done it.
Yeah.
They can do it. Then why can't I do it? You know?
100%. And like what I was saying is, yeah, so first of all, when I was opening up this gym, I was like, I will make it work. I will do whatever I have to do to make it work. And I don't care if that means I'm hustling hard and like literally like just doing what I can to get clients, because I didn't have any clients in the area. I didn't open up a gym with a client. Most people open up gym and they bring in their clientele from like a commercial gym or something like that. I started from scratch in a new area. But then the second thing I questioned myself was, and this is something as well, like for anyone listening, like if you're thinking about making a business adventure or quitting a job and taking a risk, is like work out what the worst possible outcome is. And if you're okay with that, then
Yeah.
you've got literally nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Like my worst case scenario was, cool, I have to like get out of the lease, sell all the equipment. And if I have to, like, you know, I could still live where I live, but I could always go move with my parents and still run my online business in my other studio and be okay that I gave it a go.
Yeah.
I think if you can be okay with that, then you can keep moving past. I think as well, something I want to touch on with you is like obviously mindset when it comes to, you know, making steps like in your business and whatnot, and like also achieving self-growth over years, which has to come if you have a business mindset. What would be some things that you've done in your time to help to improve your mindset? Because I think mindset's something that is so important.
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends on your character as well, like the type of person you are. Like, you know, I think, you know, some people obviously need to, I think it's important that you write everything down.
100%.
I think you have a plan, you write everything down. Like I was mentally writing stuff out in my head already.
Yeah.
And then I was starting to put it down on paper. I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. Like,
you have to write shit down. I have things written down everywhere.
Yeah. And then I think, you know, like I said, it does depend on your character as well. Like I'm quite a chilled, laid back person.
You're quite introverted.
I'm quite introverted, which can be beneficial, but it can also be a bit of a weakness as well at the same time, because I am too laid back and too relaxed about stuff sometimes.
Okay.
So
but you're self-aware of that?
Yeah. So I need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
And I need to give myself a little bit of a kick up the arse sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, for other people it might be like just every day just reminding themselves, telling themselves that, right, this is what I need to achieve, this is what I need to do to achieve this, X, Y, and Z sort of thing. But 100% just write it down. Yeah. Write down, set it out, put it out on a plan, and actually execute it.
Yeah.
You know?
Something that I say is there's a lot of people, and this is probably a little bit like, I don't know, maybe rude, but if you have ambition with no game plan and no no action, it's just daydreaming.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, 100%.
you have to just like, and this is coming from someone myself, I'm an extremely big action taker, so I feel comfortable to say that, but I want to help people as well be able to get the courage to, you know, take leaps and things they want to do. So I think as well it's important to work on your mindset in different aspects. Like something that I think is such a really important aspect of just self-growth in general, doesn't like, for those listening, doesn't have to be business or career, it can be just in general, is like the people you surround yourself with, I think is extremely important. And I think that we need to be very selective of like who we let into our space, and also our environment, because it's going to shape who you are as a person, and it's going to shape your growth as an individual or as you know, in your business and whatnot. Something that I've been doing, which I was telling Ian just before we started the episode, is lately I've been listening to a lot of like podcasts and like watching like YouTube videos and stuff like that with people who are really successful and people who I look up to, because something that I'm struggling with at the moment is, you know, I'm supporting a lot of like the girls that work for me and like my clients and whatnot. I'm a mentor to a lot of people, a lot of my clients and whatnot. And, you know, sometimes that's hard because I want to be around people who are above me so I can continue to grow. So I find for my mindset personally to continue to evolve, you would say, listening to like podcasts, YouTube video, instead of like listening to music in the day or watching stupid TV shows at night time, I find that's been game changer for me. And my energy is so much better.
Yeah, that's huge. Like that's like I'm a big podcast listener. Like I love listening to different podcasts, and I love
You're
just
on it
listening
now.
to
You're on your own podcast.
Yeah, and now I'm on a podcast as well.
There you go.
And that's also like a dream of mine. Like I'd love to have a podcast one day. Like
We'll start it next week.
Yeah, let's go.
Do it. You can come in. You can rent
it's something
out this
because
room.
I love chatting, but I love talking about all sorts of different topics as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. Like agree with the podcast. Agree with watching YouTube videos of other people that are successful.
Yeah.
Just to even get ideas as well. You know, like, oh, okay, cool. That's a good idea. I need to try that. I need to do that as well.
Yeah. So. And just being selective with who you let into your space, I think it's a real tough kind of, I think it's a really tough situation because, you know, you can love a lot of people and, you know, like, you know, you have a lot of history with a lot of friends or whoever, but, you know, they could be in a different path because, you know, everyone wants something different out of life. So it doesn't mean you need to stop, you know, cut off all your friendships or anything like that. But I think you should be selective with your time and energy if you are someone who wants to continue to evolve as a person or in business. Have you found you've had to do that over the years?
Very much,
or?
yeah, very much. Like I've had to take myself out of friendships just because it's an energy that I don't want in my life. It's a vibe. It's an attitude that I don't want in my life. Yeah. Because
I honestly think it shapes who you are, like the people who you're around. It's very, anyway. But yeah, I think that, when it comes to mindset, my tips, just to sum it up, would be write things down. If you've got a plan, write it down, execute it. But self-awareness, I think, is something that will help big time with just getting...
Yeah, I mean, you have to be aware of what your weaknesses are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then have a strategy is like, okay, like, well, how can I make this a strength, I suppose?
Yeah, and I think, like, checking in with yourself is really important, something that you said before, checking in with yourself, because you check in with a lot of other people, especially if you're a PT, but if you're not constantly checking in on you, how you're growing as a person and business and whatnot, it's hard to continue to make that progress.
Yeah.
So, lots to happen in the next coming months with Ian.
Indeed.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Do you have any final advice you would give to maybe the listeners who are like for maybe a personal trainer, let's say, before we get into some Q&A?
Yeah.
A personal trainer wanting to, because you've got a lot of experience, education, whatnot, wanting to continue to evolve as a PT.
As in what they should do next and where they should go.
Maybe just someone who's maybe new to PT wanting to evolve as a coach.
Yeah. To
get to a stage where they are credible within the industry, because it's a bloody oversaturated industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've just got to.
So it's hard to really stand out because
don't copy people, as in don't try and. I find a lot of people copy.
In what way? Because I feel like everyone's copying everyone, really.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I did was like I actually removed a lot of people that I was following on social media a long time ago. Like
I do that
if
too.
they weren't adding a lot of value to my life, like if I thought, if they were literally just like a cool person or something like that, and that was it, then I'm not gaining any value from them.
Yeah.
Like I need to remove that person.
Yeah.
Or also I didn't want people to necessarily influence me, like or influence the way I'm thinking, just because that person thinks that way. I don't necessarily want to think the same way. So I think you have to be very selective with the type of people that you follow, like, or the type of people that you choose to educate you.
That is actually a really good point, because they're going to shape who you become as a coach.
And don't try and copy them necessarily. Like, you know, I think a big thing is that,
because you have to be yourself as a PT. Like, let's use me for an example. Obviously, Brett Contreras is like my unofficial mentor and a great friend of mine. I'm so lucky to be, obviously, you know, in his circle. And, you know, I obviously have the Glute Academy gym. I've got my monthly program. I use a lot of his movements, but I also coach differently to him. But I have learned a lot from him. So you can definitely, you don't have to like not do everything that you're...
Have your own style.
Have your own style and be okay with that.
You need to like gain a certain amount of knowledge and a certain amount of experience to be able to form your own opinion.
Yes.
And not just to parrot what someone else is saying.
Exactly.
And that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people hear what that person's saying, they like what that person's saying, they repeat exactly what that person says.
Exactly.
Whereas instead of let's listen to that person, let's listen to this person. Yeah, they copy post.
I've had people, this is one girl who literally I'll show you after. Copy to copy post. But I mean, I think it's a compliment to myself.
It's a compliment to you, but you can also see it as well. Like a lot of people, like they just post what someone else is posting. Sometimes you see a trend, like one person posts this thing, and then all of a sudden 20 other people post the same thing. No one's got their own opinion. They're just repeating what someone else has said. They're like, that person's pretty smart. They must know what they're talking about. I'm going to repeat what that person said. And I do think you need to be able to form your own opinion. Like you need to educate yourself so that you're educated, but you need to get a decent amount of experience so you can form that opinion.
Absolutely. And I think as well, like, you know, I think there's a lot of PTs out there nowadays who just, like, this is some advice I would give to any PTs. There's a lot of PTs out there who just think they're on this real high level to the point where, you know, they're so exclusive, no one can work with them, and like you can't even DM them. I don't know, like they're just so on this high, like I'm so elite type vibe. We're all personal trainers at the end of the day. Like, you know, should be a personal experience as well. And I think if you can have experience working with as many different people as you can, you're going to be able to do what Ian has just said then and actually form your own style of coaching and form your own ethics within the industry and whatnot. You can take things from people and make it into your own kind of approach. Whereas if you're not really, for a new PT, if you're not kind of hands-on working with heaps of different people and trying to get as much experience, it's easy just to copy people because you don't have the experience to create your own style.
Especially if you're listening to someone that's just basing everything off research. Like, this research says this, so this is the way, this is what must work. So then someone will take that and then be like, okay, this is the only way to do it. It's like, but that doesn't work in the real world. Like that might be real, but that studies for 12 weeks or whatever. And then when you translate it to the real world, it doesn't work in the real world, you know.
100%.
You know, like I don't disagree with that necessarily, but in my experience, I know that that's not going to work with this client or this client, you know, so.
And being able to individualize different, like, obviously approaches. And that's another thing, like, obviously, if you're a new PT, you want to be not trying to think that you're some exclusive PT, because we're personal trainers. It's meant to be a personal experience at the end of the day, and the more personal you can get with your clients, the more you'll be able to take home. Like, I don't know how many clients we've probably trained together over the time of being PTs. I'd say thousands, which is why, you know, we know a few things.
And you can never stop learning.
No.
Like what's that famous Einstein quote, the more you learn, the more you realise how little you know?
100%. And I think having an open mind as well, like, you know, like what Ian said, you know, there's a lot of these people who are very fixed-minded. This is the research, this is evidence-based, but, you know, it may not be practical for every individual. So having an open mind to go, let's take on what they're saying, but let's also see what, you know, let's get the feedback in person or whatever, or from the actual client, and then make your own kind of decisions with that. Any final advice for any PTs?
Just, commit, go for it. Yeah.
And another thing that I would say that too, one more piece of advice I would say, which I'm sure Ian will agree, is invest in getting coach yourself or
get
invest
a coach.
in some mentors, work with people who you think that, that you would like to be like maybe one day. You don't have to copy them, but getting experience. Like I've worked with heaps of different coaches myself. I've definitely pulled things from my experience working with them. And it's helped me create my own style of coaching, but you can learn so much and you have to invest to be able to achieve that.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
100% agree with that, yeah.
All right, Ian, let's go into some Q&A. So, Tiana's just messaging me, young Tiana, my child downstairs.
Little protege.
What's that?
Your little protege.
She's bloody amazing. Now, so first of all, before we go, these are going to be, I'm just going to give you 2 nutrition-based questions because we're trying to do the Q&A segment on every episode now. So your nutrition background, you did, what course did you do?
So I did a course a few years ago with Mac Nutrition Uni.
That's right.
Yeah, so Martin McDonald's, who's kind of...
He's a legend.
He's a legend, and when it comes to the nutrition side of things, nutritional education. He's kind of brutally honest as well, which I like.
He's straight out.
He's straight up.
And his content, I feel like, is super easy to digest.
Yeah, and again, he's got the experience of working with thousands of different people. So again, he has that ability to, look, this is what the research says. Yeah. However, you are right. This won't work necessarily in the real world. Yeah. So I did my course, which I think was about a year long or 2 years long, maybe. Yeah, I think. Most of it was online, and some face-to-face stuff as well. Yeah. And what did that give you at the end, like the qualification? I'd say a lot of it, because I already had the experience, so a lot of it was just kind of reinforcing maybe what I already knew, but also giving me some actual research side of things, the actual backup research to back it up as far as that was. But I mean, if you did that at the very beginning of your career, it would be very beneficial. You would learn a lot from that. But yeah, for me, like I definitely learned some valuable information, but a lot of it was just kind of reinforcing kind of, okay, right, that is the right thing to think about. I am on the right track, like phew.
So what's the qualification though out of it?
So you'll qualify yourself as you can call yourself a nutritionist, so to speak, or you can insure yourself, because their company insures people all over the world. So now they've got they have that ability to insure you around the world as a nutritionist. Okay. In various countries. So yeah. Okay, there you go. So let's hit Ian with some nutrition questions. Here we go.
All right, there's just 2. First one is, why is just eating clean a bad nutrition advice? So a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not losing weight, but I'm eating so good.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a couple. There's you can really unpack that, can't you? Number one, like just if you really are just eating clean, it's not sustainable. As in clean, as in like if we quote unquote like let's say chicken, broccoli, and rice, all day long, that's just not sustainable. But also just because you think you're eating clean, like, oh, you're eating salads all day long, like what is on that top of that salad as well? Are you adding oils to that salad? Are you adding like high fat, high calorie dense? They could be real calorie dense salads. So you might think you're eating healthy. You're eating quote unquote healthy food, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's within your caloric maintenance level requirements. So you're not necessarily going to achieve your goals just by eating clean.
It's all about your energy balance. So if you want to lose weight, you need to be creating
calories in, calories out.
Yeah, you need to be creating calorie deficit. So if you're eating clean, you could be eating a calorie surplus, meaning you're eating more calories than your body requires, so that you're gaining weight. So yes, there are benefits to eating quote unquote clean for obviously nutrients, basic health.
Yeah, it might be a nutrient dense diet. Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's going to help you achieve your specific goals, especially if your goal is weight loss, let's say. Then just eating clean isn't enough.
So it's not bad advice, because it's good to eat healthy and it's good to eat good foods, but when it comes to body composition, you have to understand energy balance and be eating according to your goals and calorie needs for whatever your goals are.
100%,
Last question. So say if someone wanted to achieve body recomposition, okay, what would be your advice in summary for the general person? Because obviously it's going to be individual, but what would be your general advice if someone wanted to achieve body recomp? For those who don't know, body recomposition is pretty much what people call toning. I don't like the word toning. But it simply means
muscle
that...
mass, lose a bit of body fat. Build muscle mass, lose body fat.
Exactly. Building muscle, dropping body
nicer.
fat at the same time. So what's your basic advice?
From just a nutritional side of point side of view?
Mainly nutrition side of things.
Yeah, well, number one, I would say you've got to make sure it's flexible. I know you're on the same page as that, whereas it comes to making sure you've got a flexible... I'm a fan of flexible dieting because it's way more sustainable. So as in, rather than being rigid with the way that you eat and eating quote-unquote clean, that, you know, the same thing day in, day out, and it's all within a certain calorie requirement, it's better to be flexible and have things in your diet on a daily basis that you enjoy, so you don't necessarily feel that urge to binge on a regular basis, which is quite common when you do have that rigid way of dieting. But yeah, number one, I'd say also that you need to, you know, if your goal is to recomp, then you need to make sure your metabolism is in a healthy spot. Yeah. So if you're already eating low calories, then you need to get yourself to a point where you can eat a higher amount of calories and your body's using those nutrients in a sufficient way. You know, you need to slowly increase calories. So kind of reverse diet out of it, so to speak. So if you're in a very low eating at a very low calorie maintenance, then you need to slowly increase your calories, making sure that you're doing the right type of training, i.e. strength training, is more of your focus, making sure it's not a lot of cardio-based stuff.
Yeah, because a lot of people, when it comes to achieving body recomp, they go, oh, I'll just do cardio.
More cardio, Whereas really it's kind of not necessarily the opposite. Cardio is definitely good, it's beneficial.
It should be prioritizing your strength training.
Yes, you want to make sure strength training is a priority, is because you want to send that muscle building signal to your body as frequently as possible, because you know, muscle is more metabolically demanding than fat. So if you can recomp your body so that you've got a higher level of lean muscle mass than body fat, so to speak,
and
your body's
continue.
So your body's just going to be way more efficient at using the nutrients that you take on. You're going to have the ability to eat more calories, more carbohydrates, which everybody loves. You know, most people love carbs, right? So you want to be in a position where you have that flexibility to be able to eat a higher amount of calories, but a higher amount of carbs.
Something I do with my clients is just, especially during recomp, is, you know, trying to get them to get away with eating as many calories as they can whilst maintaining their weight, or it's obviously weight's not the only variable, but body composition and whatnot, whilst they're kind of getting strength, making sure they're getting strength, because with strength comes muscle.
Focus on the performance side of things rather than...
like what Ian was saying before, like when it comes to making sure your metabolism, you would say, I don't like to say metabolism too much because I think people overcomplicate it.
There's that whole broken metabolism thing that sometimes
people get confused about it. But if you're on low calories, to continue to see progress with dropping body fat, you have to continue dropping calories. So it's a good point to try to get away with eating more calories.
Your body will adapt without you knowing. So if you continuously
100%.
eat a low amount of calories on a continuous basis, your body will eventually adapt to that.
To the amount of calories.
Metabolism will adapt to that amount of calories and do stuff that you don't even realise is in. Normally you might sit down and you might fidget quite a lot. But then all of a sudden your body starts to turn that down because it's got to try and conserve calories. Guys. And you don't even realise it. You'll start blinking less. You'll start talking less. Your brain won't work as well.
When I was competing, like, because you know me, I'm like freaking crazy. I'm just like moving around all day long. I like can't sit still, like I'm tapping my foot. Like I have insane energy expenditure because I'm a bit crazy. But when I was competing, honestly, I'd be like this. Like it's... Your body tries to preserve energy because your body is so smart. So, and as well, another thing is like when if you're trying to achieve body recomp and maybe you are dropping weight along the way, maybe you have a lot of body fat to lose. If you lose body fat and you lose like body weight, okay, and then say for example you're someone you may lose 5 kilograms, it's a lot less weight to be carrying around per day. So if you're walking around with 5 kilograms more, you're obviously going to be burning more because you've got more weight on you. Whereas if you lose weight, so like when I did my last comp, for example, I lost 12 kilograms. I don't know how, because like I'm really little. So I was on like such low calories at the end because I was carrying 12 kilograms less around per day. So not only were my requirements less, but I was obviously like expending less. So it obviously adapted to my energy requirements.
Yeah. And if you're slow about it as well, as in if you slowly start to increase your calories rather than try and rapidly increase your calories, again, your body's metabolism will very nice and slowly adapt to that increase in calories, and you won't necessarily
freak out and go
freak out and like, oh my god, I'm gaining fat and stuff like that. And you also do have to have a certain amount of acceptance to it as well. Like you are going to see some increase in your weight. Might go up, but that's good. That's a good thing. If your weight and your performance is going up, that's all a good thing. Taking pictures is probably super important as well, because then you can see that. I try to push. Sometimes my clients don't want to take pictures, and you have to push them and say, honestly, you're gonna. This is gonna motivate you so much when you see the before and the after in a short period of time.
Yeah,
it's going to motivate you to keep going.
The scale weight didn't really reflect that, because often with body recomp, I've had the best body recomp transformations with clients with minimal changes in scale weight. The best ones that I've achieved with clients has been minimal changes on scale.
Yeah, 100%.
But if you didn't take the progress photos, then you're not going to know. So I agree with that too. So you would say, obviously, when it comes to body recomp, in summary, make sure you're working towards getting strong, building muscle.
Focus on performance,
Focus on performance. Depending on where your current calories are, maybe you've been in a deficit for a long time. Follow Ian's advice. Try to
look at the calorie breakdown as well. Like, are you eating a good amount of protein?
Yeah.
A good amount of carbohydrates and a healthy amount of fats?
Yeah.
Or is it really carb heavy?
Yeah.
Or is it really fat heavy? Whatever it is, break down the macronutrient amount. Make sure you're eating a healthy amount of protein would be normally number one.
Main priority.
I'd make sure fat is always at a healthy level from a hormone point of view.
Yep.
And then the rest can all be carbohydrates, basically.
Something that I do as well with all my clients is set them a fiber target. So obviously we do flexible dieting, but I'm someone who's always set my clients a fiber target, because yes, you can take advantage of flexible dieting and not be eating a very high fiber fueled diet. So setting a fiber target will allow them to eat enough of the good stuff amongst obviously the flexibility.
Yeah.
That's another piece of advice. Love that. Well, we've had a good chat today.
That's good. Yeah.
You ready to train?
Yeah, I'm ready to
What are you going to train?
I'm going to do, obviously, glutes.
Yeah, we're at the Glute Academy.
Can't come to the Glute Academy and do glutes, but deadlifts.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to do a pull, lower and upper.
Okay.
So I'm going to do some deadlifts, some pull-ups, some back, some hammies.
I'll probably just do glutes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Any final pieces of advice, Ian, that you have for the listeners?
I don't know. I mean,
I think you've given a lot of advice,
I feel like,
a lot of wisdom in this conversation. I think that people will definitely be able to gain from just, how you've kind of just thrown yourself in the deep end, you would say. Well, I wouldn't really say that. I feel like you've taken steps forward in your career and you've been able to do that from getting started. So you've started somewhere, then you've been able to make those steps and create that momentum for yourself through each step. But you've been able to do that because you've wanted to, level up and continue in that direction.
I'd say the biggest thing is also just, find someone else to learn off as well.
100%.
Find someone that you can, find someone that's done what you want to do and learn from that.
Yeah, actually there's this quote that I saw. It was like, don't take advice on someone who isn't where you want to be. And I was like, it's so true. Because actually this is going to be another rant. But like, I know for me, like I was saying to you, I'm trying to listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm trying to watch like YouTube videos of people who are a lot higher than where I am, because it motivates me. I feel like I've achieved nothing. I love that feeling of feeling like I've achieved nothing, because it makes me so hungry to keep on going. But if your circle of friends, and like this isn't a bad thing, this is a good thing, but if your circle of friends maybe aren't as ambitious or career driven as you, it's easy just to not feel like you are you know, maybe to feel a bit isolated, I would say. This is a conversation for another day because it's something I really struggle with, to feel a bit isolated or not to feel as inspired. Whereas if you're, like what Ian said, if you're surrounding yourself with people who are maybe like-minded, maybe they're above you, maybe they're on a similar kind of journey to you, you can be able to like bounce off each other and like elevate together. If you look at anyone in this fitness industry in particular who are like at the top, they all have a group around them. It's so true if you reflect on that.
Yeah.
So I think, it's definitely extremely important. Yeah. Well, it was a good chat. Now, where can listeners find you? On your podcast, which you're going to call it?
I'm going to have to think of a name,
The Ian Show.
Yeah, I'll have to think of a good name for that. But yeah, so my Instagram is primehealth_Ian.
I will link it below in the show notes.
Yeah. And then, my business is called Prime Health Fitness. I do have a website, primehealthfitness.com.
That's in your Instagram bio?
It's in my Instagram. Yeah, all my links are in the bio. So.
Yep. And how can people work with you?
Yeah, so just go straight to my bio, click on the link, it'll take you straight to a subscription, and then you can just fill in a form, and then, or you can DM me directly, that's fine as well.
So Ian takes on clients for training nutrition.
Yes.
Yep, cool.
Yes.
You might see him here at the Glute Academy as well. All right, well, let's go train. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you
and we'll have to do another episode soon.
Yes, 100%.
Bye.
Bye-bye.